As noted in your textbook and workbook, the ability to work with ratios and proportions is very important in performing the calculations on the job. Before you work with ratios and proportions, however, you must understand equations and solving for an unknown variable. Once you master this, you can move on to ratios, which show the relationship between two quantities, and proportions, which simply consist of two ratios. An example of a ratio could be the relationship of tablets to bottles. If one person has 2 bottles of tablets and each bottle contains 5 tablets, the ratio of tablets to bottles is 5 tablets per bottle to 2 bottles. The way you state the ratio is the way it is written. The first item, tablets per bottle, goes on top of the ratio. The second item, number of bottles, goes on the bottom. Using this information in a proportion means that you develop a second set of equivalent information. In other words, a second set of tablets and bottles. Say that the second person has 4 bottles of tablets, and each bottle contains 10 tablets. This second ratio is written in a manner similar to the first one, 10 tablets per bottle over 4 bottles. Notice that in both cases, the number of tablets per bottle is placed on the top of the ratio, and the number of bottles is placed on the bottom. You could just as easily reverse the positions, but you would have to do that for both ratios so that you compare the same items across the proportion. In other words, the number of tablets in the first ratio stays across from the number of tablets in the second ratio, and the number of bottles in the first ratio stays across from the number of bottles in the second ratio. Remember the 3 rules for using ratio and proportion. 1. 3 of the 4 values must be known in a proportion. 2. Numerators must have the same units. 3. Denominators must have the same units. Once you have set up your proportion, you can solve for an unknown quantity. You can use proportions to solve for the flow rate of an IV solution, to calculate an individual dose of a liquid prescription, to calculate the amount of medication in a liquid dose, and in other applications in the pharmacy tech job. Your textbook and workbook provide clear explanations and numerous opportunities for you to practice this skill. A good way to ensure that you understand the concept is to try to describe it in your own words. Can you explain the concept to someone else?